This is going under Anesthesia Answered with Dr. Brian Schmutzler. I'm Vahid Sadrzadeh. We're brought to you by the Butterfly Network, and we are remote today, Dr. Brian
We
Schmutzler.
are remote today. All right, I'm going to let you in on something that's completely changed the way that I practice. I've been using butterfly probes for years. It's a portable ultrasound that plugs right into my compatible smartphone or tablet, so I can start scanning at the bedside in seconds. If you use the older versions, or even if you're new to the handheld ultrasound game, let me tell you why this new IQ3 is a game changer and really impressive. First off, having an ultrasound that literally fits in my pocket means I can move faster. Whether it's vascular access, procedural guidance, or just getting real-time insights from my patients. And the tech inside this tiny device is pretty incredible. Biplane imaging lets me see short and long axis simultaneously, which is huge for procedural guidance and a great tool for learners. The new needle out of plane preset even shifts the scan plane digitally so I can see the needle tip sooner, which makes a real difference when precision matters. And the image quality, honestly, the IQ3 holds up against some of the cart-based systems I've used. That's impressive for something that's portable. If you're looking for a device that supports your practice, I can't recommend the Butterfly IQ3 enough. And right now, they're running a special offer. You can get $750 off the IQ3. Check it out at butterflynetwork.com. And I am coming to you from beautiful, beautiful Phoenix, Arizona.
Zoom freaks me out when it does that.
It does? Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
no, no,
sorry.
it's
Here,
good. It's good.
we'll
Uh,
back up.
how warm is it there in Phoenix?
70. It's about 70 right now.
All right, 30 degrees warmer than it is here. Not too bad. We're starting
Yeah.
to thaw out a little bit, my friend. We're definitely not in Phoenix here, but we're inside, so it's warm. Uh,
Yeah.
but we following up on our conversation last week, obviously there was a lot of interest in Obamacare and
Yeah.
what's going to happen, what may not happen, and you have an update on that quickly before we get to our main topic.
Yeah, it sounds like it's not going to pass. Even though some of the congressmen tried to kind of push it through, it sounds like it's not even going to pass the House. Even if it does, it's probably not going to pass the Senate. So the subsidies are going to run out in January. Again, we're not a political podcast, so we're not making any comment on that. But the way that that's going to affect medicine is that the cost of insurance is going to be more expensive, and therefore the cost of care is probably going to end up being more expensive. So that kind of leads into our discussion today about it's 2026. If you're thinking about it, is a good time to go into medicine.
Well, I mean, and I posed this question to you last week during our podcast because I was like, well, with all these things happening with
Hmm. Hmm.
with insurance costs, with the rise of private doctors, right,
Hmm.
and medical care, and it seems that MD VIP kind of care is so big right now that if you're and looking at the statistics of anesthesia and it's decreasing, right? The stats are kind of falling off. Where
Yeah.
should doctors
We're under, yeah, we don't have enough for sure. Yeah.
so
Well,
what
and
yeah,
AI is the other
AI.
thing that we got to talk about too. Yeah.
So I mean
Um,
in simple, right? I mean we're going to talk about this. Is it a good time? Is 2026 a good time to become a doctor, anesthesiologist?
So I'll couch that as I couch everything. It depends what you're going to go into, right? So do I think it's a great time to go into radiology or primary care? I would say the answer to that is no, because compared to inflation, the the compensation for those two practices is going way down compared to inflation. And there's a big chance of getting replaced by AI. And you're in those practices, you're heavily dependent on insurance paying for little things, right? We kind of talked about this before, right? So if I'm a trauma surgeon, I'm expecting insurance is going to pay for that. They're going to have a hard time denying my trauma surgery, right? When I got shot by whatever, right? Primary care, probably a lot of denials. Radiology, did you really need that X-ray or MRI? So I think the qualified answer is yes. I mean, we talked about this before. Are you going to make enough money to survive? Yeah, of course, right? You're going to make a really good income no matter what area of medicine you're in. Now, some of the areas of medicine you might not be able to live where you want to live because everybody wants to live in Chicago, New York City, Austin, Texas, you also might not make as much as you thought you were going to make. And taking out student loans, again, we're talking about this, right? So there's another part of the big beautiful bill was that loans were only given up to, I think it's like $200,000. Well, the average medical school loan for a private school is like 500,000, I think, at this point. So you're taking a ton of student loan debt. How are you going to pay that back if your salary's not what you expect it to be? Now, if you're going into surgery, honestly, you're going into anesthesia, you're going into um, a lot of these procedural things. So even like interventional radiology, a procedural specialty, um, general surgery, orthopedic surgery, all these hands-on things, you're probably fine. I mean, I don't see robots for a while, at least not good robots. You look at all these AI-based robots out there. I would not trust them to do surgery on me at this point.
I mean,
But I
we heard
mean,
about this when we were at the bariatric conference.
yeah.
You know that a
Hmm.
lot of the bariatric surgeons are now turning to AI to do surgery.
Help,
Now,
help, help,
help do
help with
surgery.
surgery. Yes.
And they're even talking about help from across continents, right? I mean, those are the kind of conversations that we're having. Now, we know how touchy the subject of AI is, right? And with people's jobs and what jobs are they going to take? What jobs are they not going to take? What can they do? What can that? you know, but I think you're right. I mean, when it comes to there are certain things that you really don't want AI to take over, right? I mean, I'm
Right.
guessing
Right.
medicine is one of those things where you're like, yes, it can help you do the job, but do you really want, when it comes down to it, do you really want a robot administering anesthesia?
No, so okay, maybe this is just my own, internal bias, but if you look at the studies actually show that AI is better than primary care at diagnosis and better at reading radiographs, so MRIs, CTs, and X-rays than radiologists.
Sure.
So maybe you do want AI there with maybe a backup of a person, of a physician, kind of checking through things. But yeah, as far as I know, there's no study out there showing the administration of anesthesia by an AI robot. Now, it's a long time ago. It's probably 15, 20 years ago. There was a company who manufactured something that gave propofol and measured blood levels of the propofol and did it without any physical person there doing it. From what I recall, there were some complications from that. But I don't know any studies out there that talk about surgery or anesthesia, anything procedural, right? I just don't think we're at the point. We may be getting to the point where AI is very good in the actual, the chatbot, right? And diagnosing and that sort of stuff. I don't think AI is quite to the point where we can put it in a robot and a robot can reliably do a procedure.
Well, I mean, and the reality, I mean, as you look at anesthesiology compared to
Yes.
other specialties, I mean, you're looking at, this, it's a very stable choice in medicine, right? To where others, you know, I mean, just look at primary care and where that's
Hmm.
come over the last 30 or 40 years, right? Primary care is
Hmm.
really in danger
Yep.
of kind of being the first victim of our new
AI.
age
Yeah.
and our new age
Yeah.
care. But
Well,
when you look at CRNAs and AAs, how are those affecting, like if students are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast and looking at, hey, I want to go into the anesthesia field because you've got more demand now. Uh, you know, the demand is definitely there.
salaries. Yeah.
Salaries are
Salaries are
increasing.
up.
But how are
Yeah.
how are AAs and CRNAs affecting the job market specifically for anesthesiologists?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that even if you took every AA, every CRNA, and every anesthesiologist in the country, we're still short tens of thousands, right? So that's not a problem we're going to fix. And if somebody's looking at going to school now, I'm pretty confident that they're going to have an entire career where they're not going to have a hard time finding a job. Now, my grandkids, if they went into anesthesia, maybe they will, right? I don't know what's going to happen, but I would say somebody right now if they're in, let's say, undergrad or medical school and is thinking about anesthesia, or even nursing school and thinking about CRNA, 100%. I would absolutely recommend it. And I think, obviously I don't think AI is going to be a huge issue. I think there's still going to be a shortage. I was just actually on a panel earlier today, so check it out. Becker's had you know, issues with staffing and modeling and that sort of stuff. So I was one of the panelists for that. And
We'll
this
link
is what I talked to.
we'll link it below, by the way.
We'll link it below. Yeah, 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 yeah. So this is what we're talking about. I mean, we're going to be 12,500 providers short by 2033. We talked about this before. Of course, if there's that much of a supply shortage and demand keeps going up, I think it's a great place to be. But I mean, you don't go. We talked about this before too. Don't go into it just because you want to make a lot of money. You won't be happy, but you're going to make a great living in anesthesia for the next 30, 40, 50 years.
And that's anesthesia. But, again, the other specialties may differ, right?
Yeah,
And in terms of ebbs and flows, has the medical industry ebbed and flowed with jobs and careers, kind of like the supply and demand of those over the years?
they have, yeah. I mean, so I know anesthesia well and not necessarily all the other specialties, but so there was a big drop off late 80s, early 90s because of just the pay for anesthesia. And it was pretty dangerous actually until the end-tidal CO2 monitor came along. So insurance premiums were high, lots of patients get died or had major morbidity until that happened. So there was a big drop then. And it was actually a lot of foreign medical grads that actually supported the anesthesia industry for about 10, 15 years. And then, compensation caught up, monitoring caught up, it got very safe. Shift work started, which is not something that happened in anesthesia until probably the late 90s, early 2000s. And so now there are a lot of people who want to go into it. But again, when we talk about the federal government supports it, and the federal government isn't gonna increase the number of spots. So
I know you don't give advice, but if you were to give advice to medical students today who are not on the specialty path, who have decided or are considering, hey, do I go into, general practice? Do I not? What is your best piece of advice for those students?
So you need to make sure you have something else. So whether that's doing there's fellowships out of family medicine, right? So you can do a fellowship in OB, you can do a fellowship in sports medicine. So do a fellowship or figure out the business side and help run a practice. Those are the two things you can do. And then internal med is primary care too, right? There's tons of specialties out of internal med that you could pick. Pick one that has some procedure to it, right? I mean, I'm not saying you have to be a GI doc where you're doing procedures all day long, but there's some areas out of internal medicine where you at least do some procedures. So that I think that's helpful as well. But yeah, you've got to niche yourself. I just don't think there's probably going to be much of a need for just primary care physicians, just a family practice or internal medicine doc who just does the office, goes in every day, sees 30 patients a day and goes home. I just don't think there'll be a need for that in the next 20 or 30 years. It's going to fundamentally change. And whether that fundamental change is AI, whether that fundamental change is supervising AI, whether that fundamental change is, hey, if you want to be successful now, you have to see 70 patients a day. Like, I don't know what the change is going to be, but it's going to be so different that I think it's going to be hard to find people to do it.
Well, and just remember, this is the start of the healthcare conversation too, right? The healthcare versus the health coverage
Insurance.
insurance
Yeah, exactly.
conversation.
Yeah.
And this is totally random and totally separate with people that were not aware that we did a podcast last week. We were talking about health insurance premiums. Literally
Yes.
on the phone with somebody last night who said, hey, save your money for health insurance. Just buy your health insurance plan because really that is going to be the way moving forward
Yeah.
with how it's going in today's age, which really should have an indication of if I'm in broadcasting and I knew a certain part was in danger and was not paying as well and said, hey, like, AI is going to take part of these. My focus is going to go somewhere else then, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Of
going to
course.
go where
Yeah.
I'm needed, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's happening in today's world. I mean, it's happening with everybody that AI is taking jobs. It's it's a scary place to be, but if you know how to use it to your advantage,
Yeah.
you're in a
Yeah.
better place.
If you know how to use it as a tool instead of it using you, you're going to be fine. But yeah, with the health insurance premiums thing, I'm actually seeing a lot of people, and I follow some of this stuff just peripherally online, talking about how they are getting off their employer plan, if possible, and getting off of any ACA plans and just doing the pre-Obamacare plans. Now they don't cover everything and they can charge you for pre-existing conditions, but the price of those hasn't skyrocketed like everything else. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And I the the current Congress is talking about replacing it with something else. I mean, I don't have a great answer for what you replace it with, but there's got to be something better. I mean, for me personally, what I like is I like having a high deductible plan with a health savings account. And like we talked about, you don't expect insurance to pay for your primary care visits and your whatever. It pays for the bigger things. But if you're saving, you can put, I think it's like 8 grand a year, 8,500 bucks a year in a health savings account. For most people under the age of 55, that's enough money to cover the majority of your expenses for the year. So,
Yeah, I think that's sound advice. And this is the exact conversation I had with this person yesterday too, is hey,
yeah,
do the high deductible, stock away, pay for the coverage, and majority of the time you're not going to be using that, right? And then the health
all of it.
savings
Yeah,
account.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I have glasses. So yes, is it different for me? Yeah, but guess what? If I stock away X amount of dollars every single year in an HSA plan, that pays for 10 pairs of glasses, right?
right, right.
I mean, so you got to look at those things and where you're at. And this person specifically said it should not be tied to your job.
We
Again,
said that last
yeah,
week.
yep,
We said that
exactly.
last
And I
week.
said, hey, did you watch our podcast? She said, no, I haven't watched your podcast. Well, I'm like, this is exactly what we said. Should not be tied to your job. Um, but again, I think a lot of people have questions out there related to, is this a good time to get into your field? Is this a good time to become a
Yeah.
doctor? So many things are changing.
It will be, I believe it will be a stable profession. You will make money. You will make enough money to live. Will it be, some of the areas of medicine will not be what they are now. They won't be, the daily practice of them will change and the finances will change. I can't tell you exactly how, but I would just say anything that's not procedural, there's a high chance it's already undervalued, right? Because we pay for procedures. That's why proceduralists, anesthesiologists, surgeons make more money because the way that insurance companies and the government pays for procedures. So you're already undervalued there. And then if AI takes more of it, I think that it's risky.
AI is continues to, and just remember this, this is also another conversation I had. We're pretty much 5 to 10 years behind the AI bubble, right? Like if you look at what they're releasing
Oh,
to us,
we're in the infancy. Yeah, we're in the infancy. But yeah,
but
what
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 they're
is the
testing,
government have? Yeah, yeah,
what are
right.
they
Yeah.
testing? What do they have? Just remember, we're always 5 to 10 years behind. So the next step is always going to be bigger and better and maybe even
Yep.
scarier. And I mean, it's always ahead of what we have and what the reality is today.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I agree. So, I mean, yeah, advice, make sure that you have some other angle in medicine. Don't just be a W-2, take a job. But what were you going to ask?
No, 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 no. This is perfect. I mean, I didn't mean to interrupt you. So
No, no, you're good. Yeah, I did just make sure you have a niche of doing something. You're either the best at something, or you run the practice, or you have a fellowship in something. I mean, I had for the last 15 years said, don't do a fellowship. You don't need a fellowship. Well, now I'm changing my tune in some areas. Might be worth it for that extra year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2026 with some new stuff.
sounds good. Dr. Brian Schmutzler, Vahid Sadrzadeh. This has been Going Under, brought to you by.
The Butterfly Network.
We'll see you in the new year.